Movie.
You ready to go to the hardware store?
Yeah.
What would you buy at a hardware store?
I would skip the hardware store and go to a really cool bar called the Toolbox.
Oh, I did not do anything with this, so you should keep talking about that hardware store real quick.
It's not a hardware store. It's a bar.
Well,
is it a titty bar?
What? A titty bar? No, I go to a doodly bar.
A doodly doo bar.
Hey guys.
Hey,
it's your favorite final girl and boy, Emily and Nick. It's your favorite final baby. Yeah. Mikey.
What up, dog?
Coming at you with a new episode.
Are you excited? I'm excited.
A weekly podcast we dissect, disembowel, and
shred
the best and worst slasher movies.
The best.
This week we're gonna be doing
we're going back to the 70s.
Yeah, this one's pretty cool.
We're gonna hit one of the original slashers.
Back whenever you could be freewheeling and like get killed.
Yeah. With 1974's.
Yeah, well,
for 20 hours.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. The first time we recorded this, I think I did play on the John Larroquette intro, and I think I wish I had done that in. But
it's chilling as fuck.
I'm gonna read the box. Whoever
we'll talk about Night Court later.
Yeah, we did talk about Night Court
Harry
a lot.
Anderson.
Have you guys
John
watched any
Larroquette.
of the new Night Court?
No.
What's his name? Robert Mole?
Richard
Mole.
Whoever you are.
Bull.
Yeah.
Whatever you know. Nothing in your experience could ever prepare you for the horror of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes. On what seemed like a perfect day in August 1973, 5 teenagers went for a drive. They were headed for a nightmare. In a ghoulish house littered with the remains of dead animals waited a family of maniacal killers. They would emerge adorned with bones, skulls, and animal skins to turn the peaceful Texas countryside into a human slaughterhouse. Producer-director Toby Hooper delivers a riveting study of homicidal madness and psychological terror. 1974. Your thoughts?
My thoughts, right there. I know that was not the Larroquette monologue, but that was pretty good, Emily.
Thank you.
Like, I will say it. That was very well delivered. What do you mean, my thoughts? This movie fucking rules.
Well, I say every time.
All three of us agree. This is the shit. Let's get in.
You're going to be shocked at my rating.
Let's get into creaming our jeans about this fucking movie.
I don't know if I've handed out a full.
I don't know if I will. I don't know who knows if I'll ever hand it out.
Emily, what do you rate it?
We'll see.
Well, yeah, you're jumping ahead.
It's going to be a surprise. Surprise.
Yeah, no. It's all lubed up. Let's go.
Go on, buddy.
August 18th. Well, first is the wonderful. This is my. This and I love to top favorite movies, not slasher, not horror, just movies. I saw them back to back on the same night, and it changed me. So we got the great Larroquette scroll. I don't have it in front of me, or I'd read it.
It's the film which you're about to see is a film of the mad and macabre it starts off with that.
It does. It's August 18th.
The film which you're about to see is the story of blah,
1973.
blah, blah, of Sally Hardesty and her invalid brother Franklin. What they did not know is they were about to the mad and macabre they would see that day. The events of that day would blah, 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 the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Do you guys know
I love it when he scats.
I do too, when he gets in the narration when he's like, the film which you're about to see.
It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
We have a new band.
Keep going,
right now.
Mike.
New band
Keep
just
going,
started.
Mike. Hurry up, Mike. That's Surfing Bird. It has nothing to do with chainsaws. Chainsaw Massacre. Took my baby away from me. And she never get back.
You're off time.
Yeah, it'll be our outro song. Go
You're
on.
off time.
No.
Oh, good one, Mike.
Bruh.
Good one.
So what is that? What
Cuban
makes that
dildo.
noise that's like...
That's a fork, actually.
A fork?
Yeah,
They use a fork scraping across stuff. And actually, most of the soundtrack, besides the songs that are used,
Just like-
are sounds from an actual slaughterhouse. Except for stuff like that they use like a fork going across something for that.
It's scary. But there's some digging noises.
Scary.
There's camera flashes on,
The
dead
most
flesh,
beautiful thing ever.
hands and faces, maybe some boots. I guess this is where Nuppin's been grave robbing. The news audio
This is such
comes
the
on.
most unsettling intro to any
And all the
movie.
news is fucked. Like, but I guess the grave robber has made a grisly work of art. It's this beautiful, disgusting
It is really pretty, though.
sculpture of like a corpse holding another corpse's head, and it's just really elaborate. And the production design on this movie is insane. Like the house, inside of the house, all the furniture,
Spoilers, man.
inspired
Spoilers.
stuff.
We'll get there. We
I
got
love
a
it so
journey
much.
to the house.
So the news audio says that there are a dozen empty crypts at least, and the credits start rolling, and there's this. The newscast is going on the whole time, and there's this red footage of solar flares and like sun activity, and it's just the sun, but it fucking.
I think,
is just some of the
what
spookiest
it is
fucking
like
shit.
they're trying to explain how hot it truly is in Texas.
Yeah, like later
Crazy
report
from the
says
heat.
that the high is like 99, the humidity is like 99. It's hot. There's news of oil fires at the Louisiana-Texas border. There's a cholera epidemic in San Francisco. There's a suicide that touched off a bunch of violence in Houston. There's a dead armadillo on the road.
Oh, this is the
There's
movie.
a building collapse in Atlanta.
This is the movie that started my thing with the using subtitles.
Yeah, I
really
actually
is.
watched this with the subtitles.
It's the movie that
And I caught
started
so
my thing with
of that,
subtitles.
specifically this scene.
Because of
opening
this,
scene.
because of the opening scene, because I wanted to know what they were saying on the radio.
There was a 18-month-old child chained up in Gary, Indiana, or
But
something like
now
that.
I only watch movies with subtitles. It's become a thing that I can completely ignore. It takes away for other people, but it really helps when you're watching these movies.
Especially, I feel like a movie you've seen a lot.
Yeah, because I'd seen it so many times and I didn't know exactly what they were saying in certain parts, and so I put on the subtitles for this, and that started me with just using subtitles in everything I watch, basically, except for like live TV where it's always behind.
So we see a van stopping, and Franklin's ramps are put up so he can go piss in a coffee can.
He's in a wheelchair,
Franklin is
an
wheelchair
invalid.
bound.
Yes.
Franklin.
So a big rig comes by.
Shout for Franklin.
Kirk is the guy that helps him
turtle.
out. And this big rig comes by, and I think it splats the armadillo. Maybe it splats the armadillo. Something goes on Kirk.
It's an armadillo. That's dead.
And
But that's earlier that it shows
it makes Franklin roll down the hill and fall.
Oh
in his
no!
wheelchair.
It's when the semi comes and it blows hay into
Is it hay?
him.
I was
Yeah.
hoping it was the armadillo.
No, that's
Guts.
that's like an opening shot, and it just shows the van driving like by it.
So Franklin, I'm sure that
I
Franklin
never
got.
understood why that
He
made
had to
him
get piss
his.
all over him, right?
I guess, but I never understood why that made
was
him
trying to
his.
pee on
It would make more
Jar.
sense if Kirk was holding him at that point, but he wasn't.
It didn't make it. I never understood why it made him his wheelchair fly down, but it does. So.
Well, maybe it's because he had his hands on his dick trying to pee in that can and wasn't holding the chair
Why was
wheels.
why was he doing that when he was out of the van? Well, you know, like why did he
Because-
just piss into the air?
Unless if he just has a little dick, he'd be pissing up in the air and it'd be blowing back on him. But there wasn't any wind.
Dude, it's so hot in Texas. You just piss and it just evaporate as soon as you get
It seems like it would, yeah.
Piss
And
gets
also,
flowing
when
back
they
on you.
filmed this, it
You
was
just
like
piss
not
steam.
only was it Texas heat, but it was the hot. They were going through the
Heat
worst heat wave that they had in years. So it was like got up to 110 outside all the time. So like that dinner table scene was like it was like 130 degrees in there.
I sat on a wooden bench in Houston once, and I thought it was gonna melt my debit card in through my jeans. That's wood.
And you got a hot ass.
Thanks.
All that stuff together.
I guess.
I just started. I was like, what? Okay.
Cool.
So back in the van,
Have you been checking me out, Mike?
Pam has multiple books about astrology, and she's reading the first one about Saturn going into retrograde.
God, it's something's always going to fucking retrograde. I'm fucking over it.
Franklin's complaining.
not into
Get
the
used to it,
Zodiac.
folks. Franklin complains a
She
lot.
don't throw a mean tarot.
So they stop at the graveyard to see if their granddad's.
Sorry.
What? See
I
if the
don't
granddad's grave had been defiled by
Emily
Nubbins.
just got into deep
Nubbins is the
purple. I
hitchhiker.
apologize, everyone.
And there's Franklin's like staying in the van, and there's this drunk lolling about on the ground, being like, stuff goes on around here people don't talk about.
Oh yeah,
I
the
know
Pabst drunk,
everything.
the Pabst drunk in
That
the
is
tire.
Yeah,
And-
he rules.
So back in the
Dude,
van on the
I
road.
feel like that's like we go to a certain bar every week, and those guys are just there, and it like
It's
I
me.
don't- No, it's not. No.
It's me.
I'm not a big drinker. Man, guys, I'm back on the kratom.
I'm seeing
shouldn't
those
have done
guys
it,
as
but-
I get older.
Why is depression a thing? So Sally tells, back in the van, they're back on the road. Sally tells Franklin, don't worry, Grandpa's grave is fine. Didn't look like anybody had dug it. It kind of seemed like she was lying. And then everybody's like, what the fuck is that smell? Oh, it's the stink of the slaughterhouse. And Franklin tells them about how his grandpa used to take the cattle there, and he goes into like how they're killed. Used to be with a sledgehammer, now they got the gun. And Pam is like, I'm a hippie vegetarian, please shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And we see the cows. We don't see one getting killed, but you see they don't seem happy.
I don't. Okay.
Can you imagine being
Yeah, I have cows
cow
on my farm. We send
at
them
a-
off for slaughter.
a
And what?
slaughterhouse? Fuck. I'm hungry.
This movie, yeah, I think that he made
What
this
do you
movie.
wanna eat,
Well,
Mike?
I like it when Franklin's
He's
talk-
a vegetarian, or was a vegetarian.
Paul Pertain.
No, Toby. Who?
Toby.
Are you into cannibalistic beef jerky?
Well,
Now
they're
we
going
are.
to get some. I think.
Dun, dun, dun.
So
I think.
I like it when Franklin's like making the sound of the air guns, like boom, psh,
Yeah,
boom,
boom, and then boom, and I know that Sally goes, Franklin, I like meat. Can you please stop doing that? I would like to continue to like meat.
and then somebody's like, "Hey, there's a hitchhiker." And
They're like, should we pick him up? And Pam goes,
Pam's like,
no,
"He
he's
looks
weird
fucking
looking.
weird." And then when he gets in, Franklin's like, I think we just picked up Dracula. And I think there's something to this, right? So this is not the only time that Dracula's mentioned, and they invite.
Because later he says a
into-
whole family of Draculas.
They end up inviting him in. I think there's something to that, and he marks the blood. Like I think
I
there's
don't think
Well,
that
we-
would, but
soon we're doing the fun house, and then there's all this Frankenstein imagery. I think that there's something to this shit. They didn't just pick this shit by random, you know. I think there's something to it because they're cannibals as well. They drink blood. The grandpa sucks on her finger, you know. I think Toby might have been thinking about
Cool.
him or
Anyway.
Kim Hinkle. They took her jobs. I said that because they then start talking about
Yeah,
Franklin
that
and
was-
Nubbins are having a conversation about Sledgehammer versus
the song
air gun.
by Peter Gabriel.
And
I'm
he,
just kidding.
he said, Nubbins says that a lot of people lost their jobs because of the killing.
You
gun.
don't know his name is that
And
in
he
this
starts-
movie. He's just credited as the
Yeah,
hitchhiker.
that's retconned on there.
Yeah,
He's the hitchhiker.
you only know who he is in the second one. He's his, by the second one you figure out his name is what's his name?
I just know him as Nubbins.
He's called the hitchhiker though in this one.
Yeah.
That's all his credit is. Yeah.
So he's got these weird, gross, old school Polaroids that he hands around of that he took at the slaughterhouse. Maybe he took at the graveyard too. And he starts talking about the head cheese making process, and he's just fucked up. I mean, he's such a menacing
He's such a
presence.
fucking weirdo. Yeah.
Like, if that guy got in your car when you're trying to help him out, you just be like, "Oh fuck!" Like I think Ed Neal did a great job.
Yeah, apparently he he acted like this nephew that he had that was on the
Yeah.
spectrum or something, and got him his job. Anyway,
Nice
so
exploitation.
he takes a picture of him, or
Well, Franklin takes out his knife and he's like, "Hey, can I see that real quick?" And he just like fucking cuts real deep into his palm and just starts giggling like it's a party trick. And he gives it back to him. And Franklin's like, ugh.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I got a knife too." And he pulls a goddamn straight razor out of his boot. And Kirk's just like,
it's a real nice knife.
You can put that knife away.
Yeah, he's
too.
like, it's a real nice knife. Put it away.
And he pulls out his camera and he's like pointing it around like he's gonna take a picture or something. He finally takes a
Do
picture.
some witchy shit.
He does take a picture.
He finally takes a picture.
And when he shows it to him, it's like all out of focus. And he goes, "You can pay me now."
Yeah, and he's like, "You guys
It's a
can come
good
over.
picture.
You guys
It's a
can
good
come over for
picture.
dinner. We'll have some head cheese." And he wants $2 for the picture. And
they're like,
Franklin's
"No."
like, gives it back to him. So he's like, "Fuck this. I've got black gunpowder pouch around my neck. I'm just gonna pull out some crackhead aluminum foil and burn this picture." No, it's total witchy shit, man.
Freebase your image.
He goes,
It's
and he
total
does
witchy
this like
shit.
weird thing, and then they're about to kick him out of the van. Before they do that, though, he gets the
Straight
knife
razor.
and he cuts Franklin's arm with it, and then they push him out. And then my dad loves this thing because he thinks it's so funny. But he's like rubbing his blood all over the
Yeah,
van,
he
and
makes
he's
some kind
making
of weird
he's like
symbol.
he's blowing raspberries at him.
And which Franklin also blows a shit ton of raspberries.
He does
later.
blow raspberries.
He even
later,
out
yeah.
raspberries the hitchhiker.
Yeah, they're. We should have counted, but I think they might have the same amount of raspberries.
They're raspberry
Brothers,
equals.
they're raspberry brothers.
So, yeah, they've been marked. The
That's
van's
you
been
guys.
I
marked.
don't think that
With the
blood
blood.
meant anything. I just think he rubbed
Well,
it against the van.
the characters wonder about it openly.
They do, but I don't think it really means
So
anything.
Pam starts reading Franklin's horoscope. Oh, it's disturbing and unpredictable day. And then
With this huge gash on his arm.
I think she
they
did
get
this
a bad
before.
shot. And Sally has also got a bad astrological day. It's like,
It's gonna be a bad
You
day
wish
for
you would get
everybody,
pinch
y'all.
yourself.
Sorry, it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So they pull.
Spoiler.
they pull into the gas station,
Spoiler.
and there's this goober staring at the sun, straight up, like looking up at the sun. You
When
see
they pull up
it.
in the gas station, yeah.
Yeah,
The guy that watches the window.
I think he might be part of the family in some
No,
way.
he's not.
Well, they stop at this gas station. Drayton Sawyer comes out. He's the
Not his name in the movie. He's just called
again,
the cook.
but I mean, it is his name though.
But this was not supposed to be
They
a
are not
franchise.
the Sawyer family at this point, but they are the Sawyer family.
I hate this franchise. I think all of them are bad except for this one and The Next Generation, which is only I like for laughs. But to
like
have the original be
I agree.
like such a fucking amazing movie. The franchise is fucking shitty, so I refuse to call them by actual
The cook.
names. I'm gonna call them by their names in this
You're
movie
gonna
as
call
a standalone movie, and he is the cook.
Leatherface the cook.
Leatherface
and
the cook, the hitchhiker. Yeah, and Grandpa. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll try to use those names.
Yeah, because
So
they're
you
not
don't
the
yell at me
Sawyer family.
anymore?
Well, they're not.
Get
the
it right,
and
Mike.
you know, a Sawyer is just someone that uses a chainsaw. So that's where they got that name, by the way. But
Well,
anyway.
the cook
A Sawyer.
tells them he has no gas. There's supposed to be a truck coming in either later that afternoon or the next day. And the sign of this restaurant, I guess it's also a restaurant, it says "We Slaughter Barbecue." And Franklin asks
Wouldn't
about...
you slaughter stuff to become barbecue?
But it says on the sign, like, all barbecues slaughtered.
Well, I mean,
But
yeah, that's how it's made.
So Franklin asks about the Franklin place. Does that mean Franklin's name is Franklin?
yeah, that's a weird thing. Yeah, no, that's his other side of the family.
That's my first question. But also,
No,
my second
that's-
question here is... the cook tells them, "Don't go up there. It's fucking dangerous."
Yeah, my dad had this conversation with me when I saw this with him when I was about 7.
Especially, he reiterates it when he sees the girls. He's like, "You don't want to take those
my
girls
dad
up there."
said, in his opinion, now this is open to interpretation, but I remember when I watched it with my dad, I was about 7. His idea behind it was that when the cook says that to them, that he's trying to get them to go. Like by saying,
I can see that.
Because my dad,
but there's also the thing later where
but my
he
dad
wants
would
them to
always
stop
be like,
torturing him.
my dad would always be like, "Oh, you shouldn't get that movie. There's a lot of cussing
the
in it,"
only-
and that's how he would get me to
Will
rent
you
a
say
movie.
that these are 3 brothers?
Yes.
Okay, so he's definitely the most socially acceptable seeming of the 3 brothers.
Yes.
Like one
He
is
gets-
like
you-
But he
yeah.
also says...
You see him go in and out of
he also
hysteria
says
at the
he
dinner
like, stop
table.
torturing her.
doesn't
Let's
take
just get it over with.
any enjoyment out of the killing.
Yeah, he says I don't find any. There's a quote. It's like I don't get any pleasure out of killing or
So
something
my
like
third
that.
question here is: they get some barbecue.
Can I answer your Franklin question though?
Oh, Franklin.
He got his name from the other side of the family.
Okay.
So it's his mom's last name, a maiden name.
Okay.
So he's Franklin Hardesty.
Franklin Hardesty.
But he got his name Franklin from his mom's side of the family.
Gotcha.
So his mom's name was, I don't know, whatever, Becky Franklin or whatever. Yeah. But she married someone
Becky
named
Sue.
Mike. She named someone named Mike Hardesty or whatever. So
okay.
that's how he got his name.
Bobby Joe.
Yeah.
So my third question here is the barbecue they get?
It is human meat.
It is human meat.
Yes.
And because Franklin's just chomping on it, he looks down and is like, "This is fucking weird."
Because when
and he looks like he eats a lot
the
of
way
meat.
that you know that is it's implied, but it's when Sally goes
sees-
back and she looks. There's a long
Like a
zoom in
chest.
shot of the meat being cooked, and that's when everyone's supposed to be able to gather that is human meat.
So you don't want to talk about part 2 and
No, go on.
chili cook-offs and shit.
Nope.
Okay. So Sally sees the bloody smear and starts talking about it. And she asks Franklin for her knife so she can open the Coca-Cola she just bought. Brought to you by Coca-Cola Company. They find the Franklin place. And I think either Kirk or Jerry's like, "Oh, it looks like Bela Lugosi's house."
I didn't catch that, but yeah.
I wouldn't have without the subtitles. The couples go in the house and they're goofing around, and
Those goofballs.
they're just goofing.
Well, they leave Franklin downstairs and all go
But
upstairs.
there's this close up of this daddy long legs, like huntsman.
Dude, that's a creepy shot. It's awesome.
It was probably just really there, and they're like, "Get that shit." But those things are spooky.
Yeah,
Even though they
Franklin
can't hurt
also
you.
sees some kind of weird thing when he's going underneath the.
Sally's talking about her
doorway.
wallpaper. Franklin's like, "Sally, Sally."
Yeah, and
he'll
he
do that a lot.
goes.
He's having a hard time getting around, but nobody will come help
Yeah, no
him.
one will come to, and he's like,
So he's
he's
like
screaming at me. He's like,
laughing.
"It's gonna be fun, Franklin. It's gonna be a fun trip." And he goes, "If I have any more fun today, I don't think I'm gonna be able to take it."
It's kind of weird because he does a lot of mock laughing and raspberries, which is the same kind of shit that the family does. Mm-hmm. So Pam and Kirk, they're like, "Oh, you mentioned the swimming hole earlier. They're going to go look for the swimming hole." And
Franklin says it was down around something.
And yeah, he tells them to go between the two sheds. But then he sees like a bone and feather art piece that's just laying there, like
It's
an
not.
artifact.
Yeah, and he looks down, then he looks up, and
And
there's
looks like
like,
there's like some Blair Witch shit.
Yeah.
Like bones on strings dangling, and he starts
and he's
going,
like, he goes, Sally, Sally. That's how he does. He goes up, and I never really understood what that was, and I still don't.
It's like the hitchhiker. It's the
But it's not
hitchhiker's
in their
art.
house though. So
No, but it's right next door. Like
it's
he's
not
making
right
his mark.
next door.
Dude, he's the grave robbing artist of the county.
Yeah, but he is the artist. He's the
Wait,
artist of
it's,
the family.
it's called Muerto County, which means like dead.
I know,
county.
I knew that, but
Outside of Newt.
I don't know. That was just something that I was like, okay, that's there.
Sally.
I don't really understand,
Sally.
but fine.
I think it's just a foreshadow what's going to be in the house.
Yeah.
Because again, this is the stuff I love. Like the people that worked on this movie that actually put that shit together. It's great. But,
Like Franklin and Sally.
So Pam and Kirk, they find a ravine, which apparently is the dried up swimming hole. The swimming hole's gone. And they start busting Franklin's balls without him being there, being like, "How did Franklin get down here?" And it was like, "Oh, when he was little, somebody must have carried him." And he's like, "Franklin was never little." They hear Kirk hears a generator. They see a house, and he's thinking maybe they're about out of gas. So he's like, maybe I can trade. They've got gas, they got a generator. Maybe I can trade my guitar for some gas or collateral for gas.
You saw that dude staring at the
And-
sun earlier. He's totally into that fucking acoustic.
Then they find this. No, I really like this part. This lets you know that this shit's been going on for a while. They find this hidden, covered group of cars that have been abandoned. And they're nice cars, like in good shape and stuff. It's not like these people should have all this
somebody
shit.
came through there
So
before.
Kirk knocks on the door. Kirk knocks,
it's not like that could have happened.
Oh, where did all these things come from, and why are they under this fly net?
Well, Kirk knocks on the door and this tooth falls down. He picks it up and is like, "Hey, Pam, I got something for you."
Everything's groovy, baby. Let's go in.
He gives Pam this tooth, and she gets grossed out and goes over to the swing. She storms off, and he's like knocking, and he knocks so hard that the door opens, and he just goes
I know
in
where
there.
all those Southerners' teeth went. They're on their doorstep.
And there's this iconic shot of when you first get in the house, and there's like a second doorway in the distance a little bit.
No,
and
that
there are all these
motherfucker charges in like a fucking half-cocked idiot.
There are all these cow skulls.
And then doesn't read the room for sure. And then, yeah, he fucking... No, I mean, seriously, I would have walked in and been like... First of all, I wouldn't have walked in. And then second of all, if I walked into that, I'd have been like, oh, no, fuck. Hey, girl, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
Instead, he's like, here's a tooth.
It's a beautiful day. Let's go somewhere else.
Well, they start hearing all these pig noises, and out pops Leatherface. First time you ever see him, and he just hammers him in the head, starts dragging him back, and fucking Kirk's legs are just squirming, and he's like having convulsions. Leatherface hits him again, drags him off screen, and Pam's like, "What the fuck? Hey, Kirk, stop goofing." And
going to the place.
But that kill scene, man, it's just so strong. But Pam's like, "Oh, I better go check on this asshole."
Oh no, the scene where like right before Pam goes in and he kills Kirk.
When he died, it's one of the best death scenes.
When
it's amazing.
And it's not. If you watch I have a Blu-ray and it brightens up a lot of the shots so you can actually see him on the floor convulsing, and it's cool. But that's not what I was gonna say. When he throws him into the room and he shuts the door, and there's the same time he shuts the door, it goes brrr. Like at that moment, the movie picks up and is horrific, and it does not stop. Like that moment, you know, it's like
you're in there.
It's like you're on a roller coaster, and you know they're on a lot. Like at the very beginning, you're on that incline for a while, so you're like, "Oh fuck!" As a student, you're like, "I want to get on this roller coaster," but then when you start on the incline, you're like "Maybe this was a bad idea," and you start getting kind of scared, and you're like, "Eh." So like all the movie up until that point is like the incline on a roller coaster, and then once that like sound hits when he closes the door, and that sound hits at the same time, that's like you're going down and you're like not stopping.
Yeah,
like it is done. Like you're fucked.
So Pam has the bright idea. She's like, "I'm gonna go check on Kirk." She just goes in there.
Like everyone, God, stop going into people's houses.
Yeah, in the 70s,
how many teeth they have in there?
Well, she goes in and she sees this room off to the left and falls into all these feathers, and there's bones, and you see this chicken in a cage, but there's like human remains like scattered on the floor, and then she sees like a foot bone, and it's like the foot of this like couch that's been fashioned out of animal bones, human bones.
Now here's where this scene
looks amazing in that room.
This scene is where where the Ed Gein that's because this movie was influenced by Ed Gein, though he only killed 2 people. Psycho and this movie were very heavily influenced because people say it was a true story. No, it wasn't. Nothing happened in Texas like this. It was based loosely off Ed Gein, and this scene specifically with all like the furniture made of human remains and shit like that. That's,
I think the furniture.
No. Nothing like this happened in Texas until like they let their power grid go out because they're private, and a lot of people froze to death. But other than that, that was
there's also a lot of Sonny. Are you guys familiar with the Sonny Bean story? Like the old Scottish family.
It was also based off of Sonny Bean.
It's part that. So it was. It
was a cannibalistic family. Yeah. But
Texas freeze out, Max.
But there's like also like with the human bones, there's like a hornet's nest and a cracked turtle shell.
Yeah, man.
And
y'all remember that Texas Ice Age?
Yeah. It'll happen again.
But Pam is not happy to be in there. She pukes and then starts like
that's an understatement,
whimpering. It's like you should be quiet.
She's almost about
you should
to
be
vomit.
fucking quiet. She's just like, oh.
But she's about to vomit, and then she starts screaming. She starts running. She almost makes it out.
Yeah, she gets onto the porch.
She makes it out onto the porch, and then he comes, but Leatherface comes behind, grabs her.
He's the perfect size. too. Like Gunnar Hansen is
He was
perfect
actually
in this role.
only he wore platforms in this movie.
Really?
But he's actually, which I'm going to say only, and you're going to be like only. But my dad is 6'4", so I don't really think of it as that much. But Gunnar Hansen is 6'4". I thought he was a lot taller than that. I thought he was like 6'7", but he was 6'7".
He's beefy too. He's
But
not
he
like
was
a
like
lanky
6'7" when he added, because he had to wear these platform
The
shoes.
terrifying thing
force
about
of
this
nature.
shot, though, is that it was in the middle of the day, and he ran out and grabbed her and pulled her back in.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just grabs
I was
her
like, that
both
is
arms around the
fucking
stomach, and
scary
you can
as
see
shit.
her like legs go up in the air.
Yeah, and then you see that
like
this is one of the best effects because it's not an effect, it's in your mind, it's a mental effect. Where they do an edit really well, so you see him taking her in, you see it from the point of view of the hook. There's a hook and you see him bringing her in from that point of view. Then it switches over and you see him put her up on the hook, but you don't see the hook go into her back. Tons of people left the theater, though, thinking they had seen the hook go into her back.
Oh, she sells it so well. Like,
because
the reactions of the victims in this movie really make, and Sally's terror.
And also, because this movie is very low on gore, he wanted it to be PG, so he kept a lot of blood out of it. But he left so much up to the imagination. I mean, people left that theater thinking they had seen that. They didn't see that. It's not in the movie.
All right, Mike, go on.
So he puts her on this meat hook, right?
I never realized till like 2 years ago that he's killing Kirk. He's like sawing Kirk in front of her.
Chainsaw and starts sawing Kirk up.
I didn't realize that that's what was happening until about 2 years ago.
So then there's a windmill.
Believe me, mister.
Change of scene. And we see Sally, Jerry, and Franklin are remaining.
It's dark now.
Young people. They're at the van. It's like around dusk. And Jerry tells Franklin that the hitchhiker's going to come back from him. He's like teasing him. And
that's when he's like,
Sally and Franklin are fighting over the knife.
That's because,
Sally lost.
he goes like, hey, she says, what's wrong? And it's like, well, I can't find my knife. And she's like, well, where'd you leave it last? He goes,
she did ask
well,
for
I
it.
didn't have it last. You had it last.
I feel like this would make more sense if she had the knife like in her back pocket and found it and like tried to save herself with it later.
Well,
it's like maybe the only misstep. Because Sally did have the knife last, for sure. She can't find it. And Jerry's like, guys, I'm going to go find Kirk and Pam. And Sally's like, can I come with you? And he's like, no, you better stay here.
Yeah, because she was like, I want to get away from my fucking brother.
Then Jerry leaves. Franklin thinks Sally's mad at him, but I can tell she's really mad at Jerry for not taking her along.
She was also mad at him in real life, too, because she was fucking...
I'm surprised Nick hasn't gone off more about how annoying...
He knows better, because...
Franklin is one of them.
He learned his lesson.
With the Babadook kid and Bob from the Foyce movie. What was it? House by the Cemetery's Bob.
Oh, God, Bob.
There's the Babadook kid. There's Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
They're like the three most
in our bonus exclusive episodes, we did worst slasher characters.
Hey, Mike, are you trying to get me go off about
don't.
special needs people?
No, that's
He's not
a
special needs person. He's disabled, but not in his brain.
It must have been polio.
Because it's low hanging fruit, Mike. I would expect better out of you.
Yeah, it's South Park.
I don't know. I thought more of you, man.
What are you talking about, South Park?
I didn't know
people say South Park's low hanging fruit, which I mean it is, but I still think it's funny. So,
well, Sally and Franklin are like talking about astrology. You think that shit's real? And Franklin starts getting on her nerves again. And Jerry finds the house and he knocks. Oh, guess what? He's about to leave, but he noticed Kirk's jacket is draped.
I didn't notice that that's what he saw.
Yeah, he sees that jacket and he's like, fuck,
well,
they were
he hears
here.
noises
and
too.
The reason he says, quit goofing on me, guys.
Yeah, because he hears, here's
I'm pretty sure that noise is Leatherface vocalizing as a female, because at some point,
yeah, he does.
Gonna
yeah, he wears
like
different masks that mean
There's
mean
at least
different
two
things.
of them, right?
There are three.
There's a third? So it's just this first one. There's a second when Cook comes home. That's when he's like girled out. Does he have a kit, like a dinner mask? Yeah. As well?
Yeah.
Okay, because he's prepared.
He has more like lipstick on and stuff in that one.
So yeah, he hears like high-pitched feminine presenting noises.
It's like pig squeals, kind of. Yeah. To me, that's what it sounded like.
He goes in there and he makes it back to where we saw the meat hook, and this
there's a freezer, and you can hear this like
shaking.
Yeah, you can hear this knocking from the inside of the freezer.
And he's like opening it. All of a sudden, Pam pops out of it.
Yeah, her eyes open and she pops out, and then
Leatherface just comes up from behind and starts hammers him a couple times.
Jerry's scream right there is so hilarious because it's so like girly, and then he's like. Ah! And he smashes him in the skull, and then he just like throws Pam back in the freezer and shuts
pushes
it.
her the fuck back
now
down.
I don't know,
but he's freaked out. This is too much for Leatherface to handle.
The actress says that she tries to say that she's still alive, like now, like she'll be like I was still alive.
I never died.
But I think that was I think she was dead already, and that was like her body, like a chicken with its head cut off kind of thing. I thought she was dead when he opened it. Her eyes came open. She came out because she still had like stuff left in her body or something. I don't know.
Hey,
Leatherface,
actress, whoever you are, come and talk to us about were you alive?
Are you alive?
But this
No, she is. I think.
What happens right after that? Like Leatherface, like screams, runs to the window, starts looking
He's
around
real scared.
outside.
He's scared.
He's scared. He's a boy.
He's a scared little boy.
And
He does not go out trying to hurt people.
No,
he
people
stays
keep
in his
coming to
house.
him.
They come to him. He gets scared.
It's all these people doing it to him.
And he does, and that's what he's been taught to do.
The cars. There's all those cars. This is not.
You have to kill him, Mike.
Is it?
You have to kill him.
Well, he's been taught that.
Is it the hitchhiker that's okay? The hitchhiker goes out, keeps bringing people home.
Yeah.
And they keep making barbecue out of people.
Yeah, but you know the way that Leatherface has been brought up. He's first of all he is mentally disabled, and he's supposed to be. And I think that he was brought up. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Any outsider.
He also used to work at the slaughterhouse.
Well, that's later. That's a story later on. Is
that retconned as well?
Yes, that's retconned.
I thought the hitchhiker said my brother.
No, he meant his older brother. He did not mean Leatherface.
Okay.
That's
okay.
You don't see that happen until like a way later sequel. He did not. So we're not talking about the sequel. So. In this movie, he never worked at the slaughterhouse. He was kept at home.
I know you don't like them, but would you ever be down to rank them?
They're also. I mean, I would do it, but God, they're also bad.
I mean, there's some. Yeah.
No, I don't think I could do it. They're all so bad. I can't watch them again. Like I cannot do it.
Tip of the iceberg.
They're so bad, and there's so many of them. Why? Like the God.
I don't like them. I did not like the remake.
And you know what? And I don't like. A lot
of people like the 2003
You know I don't like Halloween.
I can't do it.
But me neither. I hate it. Jessicaville. Ugh, Horseface.
Yeah, I like Jessicaville. I like Horseface.
Next generation
I walked
is
out
fun.
of that. I wanted to watch out of that fucking movie, but that's only because it's ridiculous.
I even watched that one from last year.
Yeah, me too. It was awful.
I've seen worse things. It was better.
I liked watching.
You know what I hate is Malignant.
I liked watching Trixie and Katya.
Malignant, and I was like, it's better than Malignant.
I enjoyed watching Trixie and Katya, these two drag queens that are very hilarious and do they have like a YouTube Netflix show. Like they do it with Netflix. It's like we like to watch where they'll like go through a movie and like talk shit or whatever. And I liked watching them talk about the movie a lot more than I enjoyed watching the movie. But I don't like the Halloween franchise. I would any day much rather watch all the Halloweens than have to watch all those fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacres.
3. Leatherface, where Leatherface has the see and say.
I don't like that.
The cow says moo.
But I mean, I wonder I don't know if there are more Texas Chainsaw Massacres or more Halloween movies. I mean, they're up there. There are a lot.
Well, there's the 3, the Next Generation.
Then there's the remake.
2003 is.
But then they have the prequel, and then they have another prequel. Then they have 3D. Then they have like.
What's 3D?
It's the one where he ends up at a carnival at some point. And
I don't know if I've seen that because there's definitely the prequel.
There's one called The Beginning, but it's another one.
That's 8, and then at least last year you're saying that there's at least 9 or 10.
At least, yeah.
Okay, so quit goofing on me. Mm-hmm. So we go back. What? The scene where Leatherface gets upset, goes to the window, makes sure nobody else is fucking coming, sits down, starts rubbing his face and licking his teeth. I thought there was just so much. I was gonna say feeling, but it's almost like he's also numb. Like I just felt like there was so much emotion displayed by Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface in this.
There are 10 of them.
I really love it.
By the way, I'm just telling you, there are 10 of them.
So it's nighttime. 10 movies. Let's watch them all. And
There's the
rank them.
original continuity, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Platinum Dunes remake continuity, which there are 2. And then Millennium Films alternate continuity, which there are 3 of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just the original 4.
5.
Wasn't the 5th one the remake?
The 2022 goes with the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because like
because
an
it
old
has
lady.
they have Sally in it.
Sally comes
Yeah.
back. Okay. Would you be down to maybe just do those 5?
No, probably maybe.
Think about it.
Anyway, go on.
Behind the scenes, BTS.
Anyway, back to the movie.
So it's the full moon. It's the night. It's the van.
Because the night
Sally is honking.
belongs to lovers.
And they're both yelling, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. And Sally won't leave because Frank's like, let's go back to that gas station, get some help. And she's like, no, I'm not going to leave. And they start fussing over the flashlight. And then Franklin realizes, oh shit, Jerry has the key. Somebody has the keys.
Oh,
the
that's
keys
what I
aren't
say.
there.
I used to annoy
He took
my
the
ex-husband
keys.
with that when I
They
was
took
going.
the
I was
keys.
like, "Hey, take the keys. Where are the keys, Sally? Take the keys."
So then Franklin starts honking and saying Jerry, and Sally's like, I'm going to go find them.
And so he's like, "I'll go with you. Let me go with you. Let me go with you."
you.
So she's like, "I can't push you
Take me
down the
with
hill."
you.
So anyway, she gets him too. She's pushing him down the hill. Let's go.
She pushes them down the hill. They kind of see the house, and they're kind of hearing something. And then Leatherface pops out, and he starts sawing on Franklin.
Only
You don't
person that's
see
killed
it.
with a chainsaw in this movie.
You don't see it, but there's blood splattering.
That's the only
Sally,
kill with a chainsaw.
After like a few passes with a saw, Sally's like, fuck, and runs. And then
You see a silhouette of him getting dismembered.
Yeah.
It's like
A little
off
bit.
to the side. It's
Yeah.
crooked. You don't see the chainsaw.
There's not much
touching it.
blood, yeah.
The only time the chainsaw touches living flesh is when Leatherface falls and cuts himself.
Cuts himself, yeah.
So this is the first chase, and
why
this
it's the
chase shit,
Chainsaw Massacre.
she is screaming her fucking. Sally is screaming
It
her
is
fucking
one of the.
head off.
I didn't realize this till I watched
gets
it
her
one time.
hair
It's one of
stuck.
the loudest movies that I have.
She gets her hair stuck in the brush.
Yeah.
Like
She hurt herself in real life during this scene,
that
and
could
also
not have been good terrain to
no.
run
And
through.
Gunnar Hansen, even though he was in these like platform shoes, was still a lot faster than her. So that's why you'll see him stop and like be randomly like cutting limbs and shit in the background. And that's why. But it's really tense because he gets super fucking close to her multiple times. I think that's the second time when she's running to the gas station, not when she's running to the house.
So she makes it to
She
the
runs
house.
to the house
The
first.
first door she goes to is locked, but then she goes through the front door, and Leatherface
saws
is
through the
sawing
door.
through the door to get to the handle. But Sally goes upstairs, and she sees the two grandparents, one of which is very skeletal, and a skeletal dog with fur falling off of it. And Leatherface gets in there. He goes upstairs, and Sally just jumps out of this fucking second story window.
No. She goes first. She runs back and she scares him. He screams
Okay.
because it's one of the only movies where you see the protagonist of the movie scare the villain of the movie, because when she starts running back, they kind of almost bump into each other, and she scares him and he screams, and then she starts running back and jumps out of the
window.
Yeah.
Leatherface rushes downstairs. There's a chase part 2.
This is the one where he gets super fucking close to her
And
a
Sally's
lot.
running, and she fucking hits her head on a branch and falls down. I was like, God damn.
Yeah, that was real.
That looked
like she hurt herself pretty bad. Like a lot of the blood in the
I've
movie
got a
was
note
real.
here saying he's close.
Yeah, he's really close.
But she
to her.
makes it to the gas station, and he chases it all the way around the front of the gas station. But once she gets inside of it,
He leaves,
the
yeah.
saw is cut off. The cook looks out and says, nobody's there. He's kind of trying to be like, oh, everything's going to be right. And she's like, we've got to call the police. They're all dead. He's like, we don't have a phone. But we're, the audience, seeing a phone sitting right there on the fucking
And
wall.
then that's when it shows her looking at the meat.
Yeah, well, the cook's like, hey, I'm going to go get my truck, and we'll take you back into town. And the news comes on, and that's where I found out it was Maricopa County. And they're still talking about the grave robbing. Yeah, you see the meat cooking. Gross.
And you see
They were eating
her,
that
she's
shit.
like, you see her face and you can tell she's like putting shit together.
But the cook comes back and he's got a burlap sack in his hand.
And a
Sally
Oh,
grabs
she
a
grabs
knife and he grabs a broom and beats the shit out of her with a broom, knocking her out.
This scene is ridiculous.
Yeah, he hit her really hard too, because Toby Hooper kept telling him, he's like, maybe it's in the truck, But he was like, hit her harder. And like the guy that played him was like the only seasoned actor really on set, and that had actually done stuff. And he was like, I really don't want to hurt her. But he was like, no, harder. It needs to look real.
Well, he ties her up, gags her with a rag, and puts her in the truck with that sack on. And he starts the truck, turns it off, goes back in to turn off the lights and lock up. He's like, the price of this electricity will put your man out of business. I love this fucking movie. God, everybody's perfect. All the actors, the choices.
I think earlier Edwin Neal says, my family's always been in meat.
Always been in meat. He doesn't talk like that, but he gets back in there and he's driving. He's like, you're going to be all right.
He keeps on poking her with the stick.
He's just poking the shit out of her, like laughing. Yeah. And they're almost there when he sees the hitchhiker, and he's like, you half-wit.
Turn River's Edge. It's like I poked at it with a stick.
I mean, this movie is like all about sadism.
Yeah.
Well, he's berating the hitchhiker, and the hitchhiker finally hops back in the back of the truck. And when they get back to the house,
he goes, look what your brother did to the door.
I told you not to leave him alone. Look what your brother did to the door.
I like the values. Like, they're a murderous family. But like, God damn it, don't fuck the house up.
Yeah.
And this is when we see the Leatherface second face. The mommy face.
It's the cooking Leatherface.
The house cleaner.
Yeah,
He's being really, like, you can tell Drayton... the chef. The chef's like, did you get them all? He wants to be pissed off at Leatherface. And Leatherface's like, yeah, I got them all. And he's like, well, you fucked up the door. And Leatherface is like cowering in front of him.
Yeah, he's scared.
Oh.
I feel bad for him.
You feel bad for Leatherface, yeah.
Murderous cannibal.
Nah, you can't win them all. God doesn't give with both hands.
We're just like wearing
He gave with no hands for Leatherface.
Well, the hitchhiker...
None should be given.
The hitchhiker ties Sally to a chair that has human arms. And he takes off the sack, and she recognizes him, and you just see the terror on her face. And he's like,
I thought you was in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes to maybe the best scene of all time. The dinner table scene is one of the best scenes, maybe the best scene of any movie ever.
It's
in film history, in my opinion.
Like, in the best possible way.
Like, her eyeballs and...
Oh, God. But it's time to get Grandpa. So the hitchhiker goes to get Grandpa while
because we thought Grandpa was dead. We thought both of those people were dead upstairs, but Grandpa's still alive.
The chef starts petting Susie and tells her supper's going to be soon.
Sally.
Did I say Susie?
Yeah.
There's this crazy torso lamp that's great. So the hitchhiker and Leatherface bring down Grandpa. He frees one of her arms.
Who we just met last summer and was drunk as fuck.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He was awesome.
He was
Jim
awesome.
Dugan.
Jim Dugan's awesome.
Yeah, John Dugan. John Dugan, yeah.
Jim Duggan.
He wrote
I saw Jim Dugan.
He wrote on my picture that I got. It's a picture from the dinner table scene, and he wrote, "It's Hammer Time."
Nice.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. Yeah. So they cut her like Leatherface cuts one of her fingers and puts it in Grandpa's mouth, and he just starts suckling on it like a calf on a teat.
It's John Dugan.
But before that happens, this whole scene is insane. There's like so much going on, and it's cacophonous, like the sound, and it keeps on cutting to her eyeballs that are looking all around the room. She's scared. It's showing the cook. My dad loves this scene because of the cook. How he'll start laughing. And then he'll stop, and he looks around, and he's like, and they'll start laughing again.
She passes out while the grandpa is suckling.
And then when she wakes back up.
When she wakes up from passing out, she starts screaming, and all three of them.
Then they all start screaming.
She starts screaming, and finally the cook's like, y'all, this ain't a party. Stop, knock that off.
But the hitchhiker's like, he's like mocking her with like, oh please, don't let you go.
To Emily's point, the cook is the lesser of the sadists of the bunch.
Yeah. But he does.
He was poking the shit out of her in the car.
But
he
still,
is still.
he's the only one who has somewhat of a conscience.
But that's where you can see that he's off
The younger
in this
two
scene, because when he
feed
starts laughing and he'll stop laughing and then looks around and it's like he'll start laughing along with him and then he'll stop and like he has like
The other
moments
two are
of clarity
feeding off
and then
of
he
her
starts
terror.
laughing again.
Yeah.
He's sickened by her terror. The other two are feeding off of her
But
terror.
he has moments where he's enjoying it too.
Yeah.
And then he'll have moments of
catches
clarity
himself.
where he catches himself and he's like, oh, this isn't right. But then he'll start laughing again. And then they're like, all right, let's get to it.
Yeah, he's like, enough of this shit.
Let's let Grandpa. It's the hitchhiker's
The
idea, right?
hitchhiker's like, let Grandpa have a week. And then the chef.
That was the mistake, hitchhiker.
He killed 60 beeves in 5 minutes. This won't hurt at all. So she gets cut loose and put her head, like she's like bent forward, her head over the bucket where Grandpa can hit her in the head. That's where the blood's going to go, I guess.
Yeah.
But Grandpa can't hold the hammer, and when
Grandpa's
he does,
like 1,000 years old, so.
yeah, he's like a desiccated corpse.
Although
of a
it was a
living
college
person.
student with a lot of makeup on. But, yeah.
But
He can.
Leatherface
They
is
try to
like,
help him hold it, but he keeps on
Leatherface is like
dropping
moving
it.
his arm for him, but he keeps dropping. He hits her a couple times.
He gets her once. He gets her once.
Is it once?
It's
And then-
once. Like he gets a good hit on.
But then the hitchhiker's like, I want to do it. I want to do it. So he starts scrambling for the knife, letting Sally go free because he's like being selfish.
And she runs and jumps out the window,
She
and
runs-
it is.
jumps-
And now it is
Jumps out
morning. I guess it's
another
more.
window.
It's morning.
It's morning
now.
time, yeah.
And she
So,
looks around.
The fucking
and,
hitchhiker's on her ass.
You know,
right
she's
behind her.
limping. I mean, she's hurt,
Yeah.
and he comes
And
out
then
after.
Leatherface pops
Leatherface
out.
comes out after him.
He's like
and
slashing her back with that straight razor.
You
But
don't
he's-
realize how close they were to the road either until this
No.
scene. They were very close
You can
to
kind
the
of
road.
hear the truck approaching, and Sally gets out of the way, leaving. She crosses.
She gets
the road.
to the road and she
It's
crosses
just in
over.
time for the fucking
The
hitchhiker to
hitchhiker
get
and the
smashed by this truck.
So
it looks
it's
good.
such a satisfying end to him.
Yeah.
You know, it's like goodbye.
And then so the semi stops.
He
The
stops.
guy gets out to help to see what the fuck's going on. I guess.
Then he sees a huge man with a chainsaw.
but then so
him.
he gets back. They both get into the semi, and then they get out the other side. It's like just close the door and start driving.
Well,
like,
Leatherface
but-
is also like chopping at the door, which is just
I
just
know,
scratches.
but like
it.
just fucking go.
He should have just driven.
Yeah, but instead they both get out the other side and run all the way around. Now,
Not
that
before
guy
he grabs a wrench.
and that guy throws a wrench at him, and then he jets. He's gone. He's like, I'm driving.
Yeah,
I
he
don't know
gets
where
the
he
fuck
went,
out of
but
there,
he doesn't get back in the truck.
So yeah, Leatherface is right behind them. He turns around, throws a wrench at Leatherface's face. He falls, cutting his leg with his own chainsaw.
And he squeals, he grabs his leg,
This
then he gets
fucking
up.
pickup truck comes by.
Luckily, thank God, because the
The
other
driver
guy
keeps running,
ran
but
off.
Sally gets in the back of it. But it won't start at first. Why did you turn off the car? You see a fucking guy with a chainsaw.
Well, no, he didn't. I think he burnt out because he actually turns around to get her. And I think when he did that, his car went out. I think it's stalled.
Well,
Yeah.
it almost fucking doesn't go.
Yeah.
And he finally gets it going.
But
He drives off. Sally's in the
Leatherface
back
is
of the
like
car, like fucking laughing
cackling
maniacally. Like, I
insanely.
fucking made it.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit.
But you know she's never going to be.
And Leatherface does the
fucking
most
scenes
beautiful,
of it.
violent dance I've ever seen. It's my favorite scene in a horror movie. Any movie is when Leatherface is dancing in the morning with his chainsaw at the end. Very
I
frustrated.
have some
Also,
cool
Sally
trivia on
driving off with screaming and laughing. Yeah. Like covered in blood in the back of the pickup.
it's-
So our kill count, we have
It's the
one
perfect
is
movie.
Kirk, who's hit at least 2 times with a sledgehammer at 35
and then
minutes.
sawed.
But that's not what killed. He's dead already.
Yeah,
when
he's already
sawed. So 2 is Pam, a hook through the back, and then put in the freezer. She's found by Jerry in the freezer at 46 minutes. At the same time, Jerry dies when he's hit in the head with a sledgehammer at 46 minutes. 4 is Franklin, who is chainsawed at 52 minutes. 5 is the hitchhiker, who is run over by a semi truck at 1 hour and 19 minutes, and that's all the deaths. So Hooper produced.
How many was that? 5?
Yeah. Hooper produced the film for around $144,000. That would be $800,000 adjusted for inflation around that. And used a cast of relatively unknown actors drawn mainly from Central Texas where the film was shot. The limited budget forced Hooper to film for long hours, 7 days a week, so that he could finish as quickly as possible and reduce equipment rental costs. Due to the film's violent content, Hooper struggled to find a distributor, but it was eventually acquired, and I will go into that in a second. Hooper limited the quantity of on-screen gore in hopes of securing a PG rating, but the MPAA rated it R. The film faced similar difficulties internationally, being banned in several countries, and numerous theaters stopped showing the film in response to complaints about its violence. I don't think it was unbanned in like England till 1999 or something. So it grossed $31 million. With inflation, that makes it $190 million.
Jesus Christ.
It was, until Halloween took its spot, it was the highest grossing independent picture of all time, with the biggest profit. The film's original distributor was Bryanston Distribution Company, which turned out to be a mafia front operated by Louis Perrino, aka Butchie, who used the movie to launder profits he made from Deep Throat. In return, the production received only enough. In return, the production received only enough money to reimburse the investors and pay the cast and crew $405 apiece. The producers eventually discovered that Perrino had lied to them about the film's profits. After he was arrested on obscenity charges when his role in Deep Throat was revealed, the cast and crew filed a lawsuit against him, and they were awarded $25,000 each. New Line Cinema, which obtained the rights to the film from the now bankrupt Bryanston, paid off the cast and crew as part of the purchase agreement. The film's original budget was $60,000, but during the editing process, the film incurred an additional $80,000 in costs, requiring that they sell off portions of their ownership in the film's royalties. Like I said, it was the biggest grossing independent film until Halloween. According to John Larroquette, his payment for doing the opening narration was a joint.
Hell yeah.
Hell. Fuck yeah, John Larroquette.
In 2008, he stated that he's never seen
Night Court.
In 2008, he stated he's never seen the film.
Really?
Yeah.
John Larroquette?
Yeah.
Horror's not a thing, baby.
Marilyn Burns, whose character was chased by Leatherface through the undergrowth, Sally, actually cut herself on the branches quite badly, so a lot of the blood is real. Tobe Hooper used a stunt double for her leap through the window, and I don't know which time.
One?
I don't know which time. I think it's the second time. But she actually hurt herself shooting the insert of her falling to the ground, so it didn't really matter. Like I said, even in his lift boots, Gunnar Hansen could run faster than Marilyn Burns, so he had to do random things when he was chasing her through the woods. So you'll notice in one head-on shot that he started slicing up tree branches in the background. Yeah. The soundtrack contains no sounds from musical equipment, with the exception of some copyrighted music they had the rights to. Instead, they use sounds an animal would hear inside a slaughterhouse. Surprisingly, this is one of the least bloody horror films of all time. I'm not going to actually go into all that again. Gunnar Hansen originally turned down the role of Leatherface due to the sheer brutality of the plot, but he was persuaded by Marilyn Burns, who was friends with him, to do the movie.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah, and R.I.P. too. To both of them, actually. Tobe Hooper allowed Gunnar Hansen to develop Leatherface as he saw fit under his supervision. Hansen decided that Leatherface was mentally handicapped and never learned to talk properly, so he went to a school for the mentally handicapped and watched how they moved and listened to them talk to get a feel for the character. He also tried his best to make his portrayal as not offensive as he could. Many fans, including those who are mentally handicapped, say that he succeeded at this.
I love it.
In an interview, Gunnar Hansen stated that he saw Leatherface as completely under the control of his family. He'll do whatever they tell him to do, and he's afraid of them. In the documentary The Shocking Truth, director Tobe Hooper portrays Leatherface as a big baby who kills in self-defense because he feels threatened. Due to the low budget, Gunnar Hansen had only one shirt to wear as Leatherface. The shirt had been dyed so it could not be washed. Hansen had to wear it for 4 straight weeks of filming in the hot and humid Texas summer. By the end of the shoot, no one wanted to stand near him or sit next to him during breaks because he smelled so bad. After getting into the old age makeup, John Dugan decided that he did not ever want to go through the process again, meaning that all the scenes with him had to be filmed in the same session before he could take the makeup off, because the entire process took about 36 hours, 5 of which took to put all the makeup on. So during a brutal summer heat wave where the average temperature was over 100 degrees every single day, with a large portion of it spent filming the dinner scene with him wearing a heavy suit and necktie, sitting in a room filled with dead animals and rotting food with no air conditioning or electric fans. Everyone later recalled that the stench from the rotting food and people's body odor was so terrible that some crew members became passed out or became so sick from the smell. Edwin Neal, who played the hitchhiker, claimed filming that scene was the worst time of my life, and I'd been in Vietnam with people trying to kill me, so I guess that shows how bad it was.
It shows, man.
I'll go further into that in a minute. According to Edwin Neal, Texas state troopers actually shook his hand and thanked him for causing crime to drop 18%. Apparently, the message audiences took away from the movie was don't pick up hitchhikers. Gunnar Hansen said that during the filming, he did not get along with Paul Partain, who played Franklin. A few years later, he met Partain again and realized that Partain was a method actor and he had simply chosen to stay in character even when not filming. And they both remained friends until Partain's death. When it was first released, the film was so horrifying that people actually walked out on sneak previews for it. So here are the 3 masks. Leatherface wore 3 different masks: the killing mask, the old lady mask, and the pretty woman mask. Gunnar Hansen commented, the reason he wore a mask, according to Toby and Kim Hinkle, was that the mask really determined his personality. Who he wanted to be that day determined what mask he put on. So when the cook comes in with Sally, Leatherface is wearing the old lady mask and he's wearing an apron and carrying a wooden spoon because he's being domestic. At dinner, he wears a different face, the pretty woman, which has makeup. The pretty woman outfit consists of a female wig and a black suit as Leatherface is dressing up for dinner. And then he has the killing mask. It's the one where he, was chasing people and killing people. Yeah. The idea of the mask is that there is no personality under the mask. That was the idea of, in talking with Toby and Kim, when they created the character, they said he had to put on masks to express himself because he couldn't do it himself. The way we tried to create him, there is nothing under the mask, which is what makes him so frightening. During the filming, the dinner scene, here's more of this. It was actually broad daylight outside with no air conditioning inside the house. This meant that they had to have blackout curtains, which only made the house hotter. The temperature inside would sometimes rise over 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and because all the animal bones and carcasses were real, the intense amount of heat began to make the smell absolutely unbearable. Many of the actors have said that they would go outside and vomit. The worst part was that the food was rotting, and for filming for 27 hours straight led to several of the actors suffering genuine sanity slippage and taking Tobe Hooper's direction as meaning they really were their characters, not exactly the result you want when most of them were playing cannibalistic murderers. There's a commentary that has Gunnar Hansen eerily recounting how he genuinely wanted to kill Marilyn Burns for a few seconds after being ordered to by his brother. Edwin Neal, who played the hitchhiker, said that making the film was more miserable than Vietnam, and he might kill director Tobe Hooper if he ever saw him again. Most of the actors did not actually meet Gunnar Hansen, let alone see him in costume before their first, which also usually was their last scene with him. One of Tobe Hooper's techniques for making the film more intense was cutting a small number of frames off of the shot preceding something violent occurring. This small beat catches the viewer off guard as their eye has become accustomed to certain shots being a specific length. Cinematographer Daniel Pearl also mentioned a misdirection trick Tobe Hooper would use, which was having something on the left side of the frame and then cutting to Leatherface on the right side. The film is unique in that it contains only one instance where the victim startles the villain. We talked about that already. Terry McMinn was paid Pam was paid $700 for her appearance in the film. Gunnar Hansen earned $100 more than her. The longest that Terry McMinn could comfortably hang on that meat hook was 1 minute because it was like a stirrups with a bunch of maxi pads stacked onto each other, and it wasn't comfortable. Originally, it had a 2-week shooting schedule, but it ultimately took 4 weeks. So Gunnar Hansen has said, now this chase stuff, I got to talk about it. He goes on to talk about how slow Marilyn Burns would run and how he would have to find things for Leatherface to do to keep him from catching up to her. He also notes that one moment in the chase where he has to make a sharp turn. The first take of the shot, he didn't realize his boots wouldn't catch, and the actor slipped and completely fell to the ground with the chainsaw flying up in the air. When Leatherface makes a quick turn in the film, you can notice him overshooting the turn and coming back because he's trying to not cut his arm off. So... He notes the first time he appeared on camera and how nervous he was before doing the shot. Even though it was a rubber hammer, he struck William Vell, who played Kirk, very hard over the head, then proceeded to roughly throw him headfirst against the wall behind him. So, probably hurt him. It took a whole year for them to premiere this movie, so they made it, and it took a year.
There's a lot of editing.
The Leatherface. Well, I mean, it took $80,000. They added $80,000 to editing.
Yeah.
The Leatherface name and gimmick were used by many professional wrestling promotions as a tribute for the film. I did this for you. The character was first used in Memphis and has been done in many promotions by a variety of wrestlers, including Michael Kirchner, Rick Patterson, Brian Harris, Dennis Knight, and Ken Rayburn.
Big in Japan.
Frontier martial arts wrestling in Japan sometimes called the character Super Leather.
Super Leather.
John Bloom, a.k.a. You know who John Bloom is?
Shilbo.
Yep. This is his favorite movie. He filmed a cameo for the sequel, but it was cut out. It's implied that Leatherface has gender dysphoria, since there are a few scenes in the movie where he's dressed up in women's clothing along with a mask made from the skin of a woman's face. This, along with the fourth sequel, are the only films in the franchise that show Leatherface cross-dressing, while the other sequels and remakes would omit that aspect.
Tennessee and Florida.
Terry McMinn strongly believes, this is Pam, that her character, Pam, escaped from the freezer and made it out alive, as she thinks the character of Pam was a fighter, as she has stated in previous interviews. Sorry, Pam, don't agree. Gunnar Hansen recalls...
Talk to us about it.
Gunnar Hansen recalls shooting the sequence where they cut Sally's finger and try feeding the blood to Grandpa. The tube that shot the fake blood kept clogging, and finally, after several takes without the tube working right, Hansen simply just cut her finger.
Fuck.
And the reason was, at this point, we were insane. He proceeds to explain his only desire at this point was to get the film done. He didn't care about his fellow actors' well-being, and this sequence was shot in the back end of a 27-hour workday. He also notes there isn't much acting going on at the dinner scene. They really all felt like that.
Yeah.
And the final shot of Leatherface swinging his chainsaw around was not scripted. Gunnar Hansen was actually venting his anger and frustration on set due to the grueling production. So Toby Hooper and Kim Hinkle were out there, and he was doing it very close to them.
Yeah.
Because he was fucking pissed.
Showing off.
No, he was pissed off. He was like, I'm fucking done, and I hate you both, and I'm going to get this chainsaw as close to you as I can.
Well.
But Toby Hooper was so impressed that he kept the cameras rolling. Thank God he did. And so, what do you rate this?
I got a couple things. The Hitchhikers in fucking a Power Rangers movie. JFK and My Boyfriend's Back. Him and Sally are both in this movie called Future Kill, I want to see, about futuristic punks. She's also in Toby Hooper's next movie, Eaten Alive. Gunnar Hansen is in Mosquito and Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. I wish he was in every movie. Franklin was in Race with the Devil, which is about like Satanist car
He could
chase.
walk also.
And yeah, and Kirk was in Poltergeist. He's the only one that was in Poltergeist.
So what do you rate this, Nick?
Perfect movie.
5.
Yeah, perfect.
5 for me.
What do you think I'm going to do?
I think you should say 5.
What do you think I'm going to do?
I think because I said that, you probably won't.
It's if I can find anything wrong with anything, I will not give it a 5, but I give it a 5.
5 all the way down the line.
Although it is my second favorite movie of all time, Dawn of the Dead is number 1 because of nostalgic reasons.
Night of the Living Dead is tied for me.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a better movie in my opinion. It's gritty, it's real, it's fucking amazing.
Why can't other filmmakers get this?
Well,
I guess because you have to abuse
Toby Hooper
your
didn't
actors.
do that great of a job and stuff after this, in my opinion. So
you couldn't do that with SAG actors. Like he was able to torture these people until they put out the perfect, terrifying performances.
yeah, well, Stanley Kubrick did it too with SAG actors. So
in what movie?
The Shining.
Clockwork Orange.
Are you fucking real? Have you seen fucking Shelley Duvall now? She's fucking insane.
I don't think The Shining's as good as this.
Oh, I'm just saying he was known to do that though. Like he would push people to like fucking the edge. And you might not think The Shining's as good as this, but it's a good fucking movie.
That's a great movie.
It's a fucking classic, and it's up there in the top 5 horror movies of all time. Bye. So say gagged on a chainsaw.
Say gagged on this yummy cannibalistic barbecue.
Say on Sally.
I say gagged on that wheelchair. Say gagged on all of our social media,
Hey, what about
Instagram,
the chicken in a
TikTok.
cage?
Sally.
Gag Me with a Knife podcast.
Sally.
Twitter,
Say
Gag Knife
with
Pod.
Sally's
Sally.
finger grandpa.
Boy, Sally.
Become a Patreon for member shout outs, early access to episodes, fan requested episodes, and bonus exclusive episodes you won't find anywhere else at www.patreon.com/Gag Me with a Knife podcast. Buy our merch at gagmewithaknifepodcast.com. And next week we'll be concluding our Toby Hooper twofer with the Funhouse. We'll see you later.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They took my baby away from me, but you'll never get that to die. She'll never get that to die. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They took my baby away from me, but you'll never get that to die. She'll never get that to die. I don't care. Oh wow wow. When I saw her on the corner, she told me she wouldn't go far. Now I know I'm so much in love.